So by now you know all about John's bones, but I want to talk a little bit more about the historical context. I'll be honest, this is by far the darkest video I've ever made. Here are the content warnings. Please pause and read. But if you do decide to watch, my kitty Pikachu will be there to greet you at the end. So this is Samuel Morton. Starting in 1840, he began a collection of human skulls. Many of them were enslaved Africans and indigenous peoples. He built this collection in order to demonstrate racial differences. His science was in order to prove that the different races of humans were literally different species, and to show that white people were the superior race. But not only did he lay the groundwork for what we call scientific racism, the author of this article says that his approach helped lay the foundation for the burgeoning field of physical anthropology. So he was one of many, many people. Between the late 1800s and the mid-20th century, anthropologists would collect bones, as many as they could, and put them on display in bone rooms. From the Chicago Field Museum to Philadelphia's Mutter Museum, and the more they had, the better. Smithsonian really shouldn't be talking about this. Their collection has the remains of an estimated 30,000 people, many of which were enslaved Africans and indigenous peoples. Museums like the Smithsonian were exploiting colonial violence all over the world. And for this reason, the vast majority of these bones were of disenfranchised people of color. You can check out Arctic Melody's video about how Sami remains were dug up all over Norway. For rich white supremacists at the time, having human bones on display was a sign of prestige. Some museums even ran out of storage area because they had so many bones. Only in 2020, following the wake of the Black Lives Matter protest, did the Penn Museum move the Morton collection into storage. They claim that they were actively working on the bones' repatriation or reburial, but beyond forming a bunch of committees, doesn't seem like that much has happened. But staying in Philadelphia, this is where it gets even darker. On May 13th of 1985, the Philadelphia Police Department bombed its own city, specifically on the home of the MOVE Collective, a radical Black community movement in West Philadelphia. 11 people were murdered, including 5 children. But last year, it was found that the remains of 2 of the children, Tree and Delisha Africa, had been kept in storage by Alan Mann, a forensic scientist at the University of Pennsylvania, since 1986. They were not even kept in a climate-controlled environment, but rather in a cardboard box on a shelf, and used in anthropology courses up until 2019. As of this July, their remains have been returned to their families. So, John, this is the legacy of using the remains of oppressed people for your own profit. As I promised, here's Pikachu. He joined me on my lap while I was making the video, and I'm sure, as you can tell, I'm really glad he did.